Legendary beer facts to get you drunk off knowledge. Beer, the ice-cold, hoppy, golden mug of deliciousness, that serves as a universal symbol of happiness. It is the one true artifact that binds all of humanity together, as it is the only thing prevalent, in some form in all cultures, that has truly survived the test of time. Flavor, satisfaction, hops, molasses, and yeast are not the only thing the beautiful beverage is full of, however. It is also chock full of history. While a lot of beer history is fairly well known, there are still a myriad of fun facts that remain hidden from the casual beer buff. From beer worshippers to healthy diets and George Washington's legendary liver, here are some legendary fun facts every beer drinker needs to know. Germany has a beer purity law. It's called the Reinheitsgebot, and in 2016, it turned 500 years old. In 1516, the Bavarian Council banned the making of beer with anything, except for hops, water, and barley. Eventually, yeast was added to this list, in the 17th century after its discovery. History tells us that the rule was originally enacted to keep breweries from squandering large quantities of wheat and rye, as they were scarce and precious commodities during that time. However, as time marched on, many German breweries continued to honor that tradition. To this day, a large portion of German breweries abide by the Reinheitsgebot. What once started as a simple means of portion control has evolved over centuries to become a national symbol of pride. It's hard to believe that such delicious beer comes from just a simple quartet of ingredients, brewed with a little German swagger. Beer is actually good for you. The dream argument for every college kid in America. It's always been a whisper of a rumor, kind of a joke among peers, beer is good for you. What a shock to find out that statement is, in fact, actually true. According to researchers from the University of Western Ontario, beer contains polyphenols, which are compounds that contain hypotensive, anticoagulant, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and even anti-carcinogenic properties. This shouldn't come as much of a surprise, as history is loaded with instances of fermented products being used in medicine, but there's just something about a bunch of geniuses in lab coats openly declaring the health benefits of beer that gives it a new validity. Now, before you go off and buy a 30 rack of PBR and celebrate, it should also be noted that these same scientists also say that excessive or binge drinking has negative effects on the body. This is on account of the excess ethanol that you'd be flooding your body with, which has well-documented negative medical effects. But at least when you're 40, and sitting on the front porch sipping a couple beers and admiring their flavor, you can say it's for your health, rather than their buzz factor. The honeymoon was named after beer. Yes, the most romantic part of getting married actually has ties to beer, one of the things that causes couples to fight the most. Oh, the irony. Contrary to what you are thinking, this has nothing to do with needing to drink to deal with the fact that you just contractually signed your life away to another person, as fitting as that may be. The truth, in fact, is quite literal. In the 5th century, it was customary in a number of cultures for guests to bring mead, which is essentially honey beer, for the couple to drink together. It was believed to have properties that helped with conception, and the couple would drink it on their first night, or moon, together, hence the term honeymoon. George Washington was a beer lover. If this doesn't surprise you, it should. During Washington's era, spirits were much more popular than beer. It is recorded in history that on the very day in 1783 that the British evacuated New York, George Washington went to a local pub, called Old Bull's Head Tavern, and casually sipped a beer. Washington was particularly fond of dark English porter ale. Unfortunately, this style of ale decreased in availability when the British fled. Before the start of the Revolutionary War, Washington was a regular customer of Robert Hare, a recently immigrated English brewmaster. In 1774, Washington, Hare, and a third partner, J. Warren, began making what is considered to be the first American-made porter. Washington also dabbled in some brewing of his own and actually had his own personal beer recipe. Though it was not for a porter, the combination of bran hops, molasses, and yeast is an unmistakable beer brew combination. With his infamous slave-pulled teeth and iron liver, the legend of George Washington looms large in the landscape of American history. Watering down beer was once punishable by death. In ancient Babylon, there was an extremely harsh ruler, named Hammurabi. He enforced a very strict set of rules, which is now commonly known as the Code of Hammurabi. Back in this time period, it was very common to see beer brewers and tavern owners watering down their beer, or making beer with improper grains, in order to make extra money from unsuspecting patrons. Hammurabi, however, would have none of this defiling of such a precious commodity, and passed a law forbidding watering down or tampering with beer. The penalty for violating this law would be death. It wouldn't just some be boring hanging for the execution, though. Oh no. The law dictated that the offending party be drowned in their own subpar product. Some may see that as harsh, but being drowned to death in beer doesn't seem like an awful way to go. Breakfast of champions? Beer for breakfast was actually once a common thing. In England, before the 1800s, coffee and tea, the type of morning drinks that give you that pick-me-up, were hard to come by for most people. In lieu of this, they used beer, because, why not? On top of that, beer was considered to be very healthy back then. It did deliver much-needed carbs, after all. It was essentially the medieval equivalent to a balanced breakfast.